High above us, a rare and powerful shift is unfolding in the Arctic. This is not just another cold snap or a routine winter chill. What's happening now is rewriting the script for February weather in the far north. The polar vortex, a swirling mass of frigid air over the North Pole, is suddenly destabilizing. Normally, this icy cyclone spins in a tight circle, keeping the cold locked up at the top of the world. But now, something extraordinary is happening. This isn't your typical winter event. Scientists are calling it nearly unprecedented for February. Meteorologists across the globe are watching closely, as this kind of disruption is extremely rare at this time of year. Imagine a spinning top suddenly wobbling out of control. That's the polar vortex right now. Its once stable spin is faltering, and the consequences could be dramatic. The drama is happening in the stratosphere, miles above ground, but its effects will soon cascade down to us. What starts high above can ripple through the atmosphere, changing weather patterns far below. Temperatures over the North Pole are set to spike by up to 80 degrees Celsius in just days. That's a staggering jump, enough to melt ice and disrupt ecosystems that depend on the cold. This explosive burst of heat is called a sudden stratospheric warming event, or SSW. It's a phenomenon that can flip the script on winter, sending shockwaves through the climate system. When the polar vortex is disrupted, the coldest air on Earth can spill southward, rewriting the rules of winter. This means regions unprepared for extreme cold could suddenly find themselves in the grip of an Arctic blast. The machinery of our climate is sending a clear signal. The patterns we rely on are shifting. Jet streams may buckle, storms may intensify, and familiar weather could become unpredictable. The cold is coming, but where it will strike and how hard is the question. Cities and towns across the Northern Hemisphere are bracing for what could be a wild ride. This is not science fiction, it's atmospheric physics in action. The forces at play are real, measurable, and unfolding right now above our heads. We need to understand the polar vortex and why this event, right now, is so unusual. Only by studying these rare disruptions can we prepare for their impacts on our daily lives. The stakes are high for millions living far below. From power grids to transportation, the ripple effects could touch us all. Let's dive into the heart of this atmospheric storm and uncover what the Arctic's February surprise means for the world. The polar vortex isn't a movie villain or a passing weather trend. It's a real, crucial part of our planet's winter, shaping the weather we experience every year. Over the North Pole, months of darkness and little sunlight create a dense pool of frigid air that lingers for weeks. Powerful winds swirl around this cold core, forming a kind of invisible barrier that locks Arctic air in place, high above the ground. The vortex sits high in the atmosphere, mostly in the stratosphere and troposphere, spinning like a giant icy top. When the vortex is stable, it acts like a lid, keeping the cold bottled up north and allowing the mid-latitudes to enjoy milder winters. But the atmosphere is always in motion. Giant waves, called Rossby waves, can disrupt the vortex's stability. When these waves hit hard enough, the vortex can weaken, stretch, or even split apart, sending ripples through the weather systems below. The walls break down, and Arctic air escapes southward, flooding into regions that aren't used to such extreme cold. This is when you hear about the polar vortex on the news. Bone-chilling cold snaps, heavy snow, and record-breaking low temperatures. It's not a new storm, but the coldest air on Earth displaced far from its home, turning everyday life upside down for millions. A stable vortex means the cold stays put in the Arctic. A broken one means the cold goes on the move, sometimes reaching as far as the southern United States or Europe. And that journey is always south, bringing the Arctic's chill to places that rarely see it. Enter sudden stratospheric warming, or SSW, a burst of heat high above the pole. This phenomenon is one of the most dramatic and mysterious events in our atmosphere, unfolding far above the clouds where few ever look. It's a reminder that the weather we experience on the ground often begins with invisible forces at the edge of space. It sounds strange, but a heat wave in the stratosphere can trigger brutal cold at the surface. While it may seem like a contradiction, this high-altitude warmth sets off a chain reaction that can plunge entire regions into deep freeze, catching cities and towns off guard. Planetary waves punch energy upward, rapidly heating the stratosphere by up to 80 degrees Celsius. These waves, generated by mountains and weather systems far below, act like invisible hands, stirring the upper atmosphere and unleashing sudden bursts of warmth. This thermal shock weakens the polar vortex, slowing or even reversing its winds. The once stable vortex, a swirling crown of cold air, begins to wobble and lose its grip on the pole. The vortex loses stability, sometimes splitting into smaller swirls of cold air. These fragments can wander far from their Arctic home, carrying frigid temperatures with them. The containment field fails, and Arctic air is set free. No longer held in place, this cold air spills southward, seeking new territory. The effects of this high-altitude drama take days or weeks to reach us. Weather patterns shift, and what began as a distant event soon becomes a local crisis. The jet stream below buckles, creating deep dips. These undulations act as highways, guiding cold air masses far from their polar origins. These dips become pathways for lobes of polar air to plunge south. Suddenly, places unaccustomed to Arctic blasts find themselves in the grip of winter's fury. The result, a heat wave in the sky, becomes a deep freeze on the ground. Temperatures can drop rapidly, transforming landscapes and daily life in a matter of hours. SSW is the trigger that shatters the polar vortex's grip. It's a powerful reminder of how interconnected our planet's systems truly are. The cold is now on the move. As it sweeps across continents, it brings not just a chill, but a story written in the winds above. And the world below braces for impact, waiting for the next chapter in this atmospheric chain reaction. SSW events aren't new, but this one's timing is. Major SSWs usually happen later in winter, when the polar vortex is already weakening. But this event is striking in early February, when the vortex should be at its strongest. It's like knocking out a champion at the peak of their power. This means the disruption is more severe, with a vast reservoir of Arctic air ready to be unleashed. A February SSW can trigger longer, harsher cold spells than a late-season event. The Northern Hemisphere is still deep in winter, so the impact is amplified. The cold air isn't just lingering, it's primed for a dramatic southward surge. Scientists are on high alert because this timing could reshape weather for weeks. The potential for record-breaking cold and snow is much higher now. This isn't winter's last gasp. It's a mid-season shockwave. The rules of February are being rewritten, and millions could feel the effects. The polar vortex has broken. Now the consequences hit home. Arctic air, once locked away, spills south in massive lobes, guided by a wavy jet stream. Where these dips occur determines who gets the deep freeze: Siberia, Europe, or North America. This isn't a brief cold snap. It's a full-scale Arctic invasion. Temperatures can plunge far below normal for days or weeks. The air is dry, dense, and relentless, straining infrastructure and freezing pipes. The jet stream's new pattern also fuels major snowstorms where cold and moist air collide. Nor'easters and blizzards can dump feet of snow, paralyzing cities. Meanwhile, some regions bask in unusual warmth as the jet stream forms ridges. The weather map becomes a patchwork of extremes. Deep freezes here, spring-like warmth there. The disruption doesn't just make one place cold, it throws the entire hemisphere into chaos. Expect volatility, not just cold. The Arctic's reach is long and unpredictable. When Arctic air arrives, it tests every part of society. Power grids strain as heating demand soars. Outages can be life-threatening. Roads and airports shut down, crippling travel and supply chains. Hypothermia and frostbite become real dangers, especially for the vulnerable. Pipes freeze and burst, causing costly damage. Schools and offices close, disrupting daily life. First responders are stretched thin, facing emergencies in hazardous conditions. The economic and human costs are immense. A displaced polar vortex is more than a weather story. It's a societal stress test. Is climate change making polar vortex disruptions more common? Scientists are divided. Some, like Dr. Judah Cohen, argue that a warming Arctic weakens the jet stream, making the vortex more unstable. Others, like Dr. Amy Butler, caution that the evidence is still unclear. Natural variability may play a big role. The debate is ongoing, fueled by limited data and complex models. What's certain, the Arctic is warming rapidly, and its changes ripple across the globe. The ultimate impact on the polar vortex is still being studied. Science thrives on debate and discovery. The answer is still unfolding in the sky above us. Fascinating science aside, preparation is key when Arctic air is on the way. Stay informed, monitor local forecasts, and sign up for emergency alerts. Prepare your home seal leaks, insulate pipes, and know how to shut off your water main. Be ready for power outages. Gather blankets, non-perishable food, water, flashlights, and batteries. Never use outdoor grills or gas stoves for heat. Carbon monoxide is deadly. Check on neighbors, especially the elderly or those with medical needs. Keep pets indoors and vehicles fueled with emergency kits. If you have a generator, use it safely, always outdoors. Community matters. Help others prepare and stay connected. The goal is resilience, not just survival. With preparation, you can weather even the harshest Arctic blast. Don't wait until the cold arrives. Act now. Being ready turns you from a victim into a survivor. We've seen how a stratospheric heatwave can unleash Arctic cold on millions. This February's polar vortex disruption is a stark reminder of our planet's volatile atmosphere. Weather extremes are becoming more common, and old patterns are shifting. Whether due to climate change or natural cycles, the need for awareness is greater than ever. Technology gives us advance warning. Our challenge is to act on it. Preparation and vigilance are our best defenses. The polar vortex is a powerful force, but understanding it empowers us. By staying alert and informed, we protect ourselves and our communities. The final frontier isn't just in space, it's in our own changing environment. Stay ready, stay resilient, and respect the power of our planet.